Hi guys, my name is Tatiana, Life and Glow Wellness, and today I am reviewing another deck for you. So this is called Persona. It's one of the All Cards decks, and All Publishing House All Cards, as you might already know, is one of the developers of this method, metaphoric associative card. I call them metaphorical cards because I prefer that wording, but they have different names, also metaphoric cards of association. No matter how you call them, it's still idea is the same. So as similar to Resilio, this deck has two parts of the box, and I think they've organized it really well. I really like the box. It's quite solid and fairly durable. And I like, as I mentioned earlier, writing, I don't know if you can see here, how many cards are in each deck, 77 in the picture deck, and also 33 with different symbols, which we're gonna take a look at. So in the first deck here, there are basically images of different people. Some of them are sort of weird or unusual, like strange, and to some people they might be a little bit like filled with a particular emotion. And you know, some people, when they start working with this deck or look at that deck, both as a client or a therapist or a counselor, coach, whatever you use this method, they kind of think, oh, they are kind of weird and strange. That was my reaction at first. But then when you actually use it in work, it turns out that it doesn't really prevent from using this deck quite often. I really like this deck. So there are some alternatives, or there are some portrait decks. And by the way, I'm making a free webinar very soon in February, and I'm inviting you to take part in this webinar. I'm also working on a short course, so you can learn more how to work with those cards. This is also this deck is sort of like international, like there are different type of personalities. And for example, I have one more portrait deck from Russia, and it has a bit more Slavic images, but this specific deck has a lot of variations for the look, which I really find beneficial. Of course, when pictures are like that, for example, and these are mainly I don't know if these are probably watercolors. I see that there could be some kind of pastel touch. Some of them look like pastel with watercolor. Pastel, I don't know, like what was used to paint them. This is clearly like, it looks like pastel to me as well, and watercolor. So you see, like, it's sort of like can potentially provoke different interpretations, right? Which is the beauty of this method. Look at that. Yes, it's strange, but in certain situations, people look at some card and they say, that is totally me, right? So they look at this and how can you be you, right? So, but they say, that's how I feel. So I've heard a lot of times when people say that to these particular cards, right? And like, say someone might notice the color of the face, or the hairdo, or the smile, or age of the person. It's really different. So 77 images like that. I like the size of the cards, as well as all cards. Some people find them a little bit too small, especially for group work, but I work more in with individuals, online especially, and if I do also in-person session, I like the size because it doesn't occupy a lot of space. And when I put cards to lay out for the client to take a picture of that, I usually provide pictures of the cards which were used in the session, which they chose in the session. Then they are easy to take a picture. It's a practical use, but it's important, right? So once you work with a lot of decks, so they become quite heavy, but this deck is all cards decks, they're easy to use in that respect. So now the second part of the cards, like these ones were red, so they're easy to distinguish. And these ones are kind of like are also pink red with the pink middle. So they are symbols of sort of like interaction between something, right? So it might be just one object or subject or person or a few, right? I haven't used this particular part of the deck a lot yet, but I've used a couple of times both for my own sessions just to test and with clients, and it's interesting. It's very interesting. I've heard from one colleague that when she started working with families who adopt a child, that this deck really was very useful. And I assume also in any kind of like teamwork or even partnerships, like this can also reflect quite a lot of things. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much my review, right? Just to show you the idea. And also if we say take any card, I just took a random card and combine it. Here we can have a different meaning as usual. This is the frame from the basic card, base deck. Okay, so I can even, for example, choose for you something, like think of a question, right, as I did in the previous video. So, and I can choose for you. For example, I don't know what it could be. Let's say, what qualities I need, right? And you can ask yourself this question or something else. And I have here this one, right? I need to think sometimes as anyone to see. Well, to me, I guess like I can read this card, or anyone can read this card in many different ways depending on your mood and what you're going through, right? So to me, because I started learning watercolor, it shows someone who is like in paint, like kind of messy, right? So I guess I need to be more bold and how to say, brave to explore and not to be afraid to be messy, which I can be sometimes, right? So, and at the same time to keep the whole over, like the face as a whole, like something complete, right? So, and it has a certain rhythm. That's how it echoed to me today, for example, that I have to learn how to play with freedom of the colors and this expression, to be really not necessarily painting from something, but also to be free to express something abstract or whatever comes from me right now, and be able to give it a shape. So in here there is a cycle. Interesting. So it changed the meaning of the card for me. I'll give you a minute also to think about it. So, well, again, like we come back to the question, what did we ask? And we didn't ask what prevents you from something or something like that. We asked specifically what qualities you need. And I guess for me, cycle in this case is more of a system, right? So with time, you develop a certain system in painting and then it will become easier. I tried, I can show you, I tried one time and I really was inspired. Anyways, it's off topic, sorry guys, like I wasn't sure if it's appropriate, but I decided to show you, maybe to inspire you also to paint and to use those cards. All right. Oh, there's one more thing which I wanted to mention, is that I've heard it from one of the famous Russian therapists who has his own system, is that he has clients who come and they kind of feel a little bit out of the world, and that he finds this deck quite useful to use with these clients, because they can recognize themselves in those images. There's really a wide variety of how you can use these cards. It can be a storytelling, it can be, so you can probably use this deck, I assume, also in writing a script or a book or something like that, to look for certain qualities or characters. It's really diverse. So I look forward to exploring more some opportunities, and if you have some ideas, also please mention in the comments, and you can also write through the website. If you want a session, I look forward to give you a session. Just fill out the form on the website, and you can. I will let you know what is possible within that request. Well, that's it. So subscribe and like, and I hope you'll enjoy this video. Thank you for watching, and look forward to making more reviews for you. Good luck with your practice and exploration.